Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the first episode of Press Z to Podcast, our official podcast. Who would have guessed that? This is a pretty candid situation. We just decided to sit down and have a conversation and hit record and see how that goes. So, that being said, I hope you do enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
So, what was the question again?
Well, I was like, is anybody getting hyped? And then I said, well, I can get hyped, but I can't really participate. But I like to, still get excited. But are any of you guys hyped about WoW Classic coming out?
Yeah. Hyped, not so much, but I'm intrigued.
Intrigued.
I plan to try it. I plan to, see what it's like. I don't live the life that I lived whenever WoW Classic was Classic.
Exactly what I was going to say.
I can't invest 60 hours a week into a video game.
Same here.
And if it
Or
requires that, well, I don't know.
I mean, I couldn't.
People might want to watch it on Twitch. Might be able to make a ton of money.
I was gonna say, because there are some people who are kind of initiating an online community and environment through YouTube and probably Twitch, kind of gearing up for the WoW Classic.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's not big, but I've seen some channels growing. I've seen more videos, basically people putting out WoW Classic content. And I'm like, dude, I know somebody who knows more about WoW Classic than most of these people probably do. And I was curious if you had followed any of it.
It's been
really
a couple
know the
months
details.
since I've even looked into anything, any new details on it.
Well, it's summer. It's summer 19.
I think August.
I don't know if they have an actual date.
I think it's
Oh,
sometime,
really?
I
So
think
that's-
it's sometime in
it's
August.
like
Soon.
4 months away. Tops.
Wow. Okay, so there has to be some pretty concrete info on it.
Yeah,
at this
I
point.
mean, I have not really kept up with it. I don't know if they're updating the
They
graphics.
had a demo of it. No, they're not. They had a demo of it. I know.
I don't.
They had.
I'm thinking they might be.
They're
They
not.
have a button you can press to.
use like new particle effects and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
or what?
do they?
I don't know.
I saw that they had. I can't remember exactly when this was. It may have been a couple months ago, but they had at some convention. They had like a kiosk up where they let a certain amount of people demo it out,
Yeah.
and somebody put it on their like YouTube channel or whatever, their footage, and so I watched it, and it was 100% classic. I mean, the graphics were crap.
Well, I know they had it like it was playable at BlizzCon last year.
Right.
Okay,
I think
maybe it was
that's what
They
it's
also
on.
had it so that if you had a VIP access or the digital access,
Yeah, you could
key,
play it at home.
You could play it at home.
So somebody,
Right.
that's what it was. So somebody did that. They got the access, and then they recorded it for
yeah,
the
but
channel.
it's just that they could change stuff between then and now.
I guess so,
If they
but I
want-
mean, I think the way that they were explaining it was they weren't going to update the
right,
graphics.
and I think most of it comes down to like what the gamers think they should do, or
So
what
many
they
people-
think the gamers think they should do.
Well, yeah, I mean, so many people
because they could do whatever
said
they want.
vanilla has to be vanilla.
Mhm.
They put their foot down on it. Vanilla has to be vanilla, so we can't have updated graphics.
Like it's as long as it has
I would
all
prefer
of
the
the
updated
in-game-
graphics. I just want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see.
would too.
I want to see old Azeroth
yeah.
in new
If-
graphics.
Right. If it had all the old mechanics, like that's what I think all of the nostalgia is attached to. Like,
Yeah.
if you cast Frost Nova and it looks cooler, like I don't think that's going to break that illusion of like I'm not playing classic anymore. It's not going to.
I agree. I
Deteriorate
think the
your
mechanics.
Well, hopefully they'll have the
matters.
option.
Right. Leveling
be-
is going to
you
be
said something
slow.
about
I thought so. I'll
Maybe
look
they
more
will.
into it.
That would be superb if they had a button where you could actually choose. Oh, I want vanilla today, or I want good graphics today.
Yeah.
But I do think I saw that essentially what they're doing is they're rolling it back to, I don't know if the very beginning of vanilla.
It's the patch where they. I think it's the patch right before they brought out the Burning Crusade.
Yeah, they released like I think it's they
Like
they,
1.0.
they said exactly. Yeah, I think it's 110. They said what patch it is. Tides of War.
Tides of War
I
or
think.
Drums of War. Or
Yeah,
something like
I
that.
forgot what it was. but
Okay, well,
They said exactly what patch it's going to be though.
I remember seeing that, but we need to check on this because the last I was seeing, they're actually going to start I thought they were going to start and just go through the whole progression. Now
That would
maybe
make sense.
as far as like
But
the
what's gonna
class
happen once-
mechanics and everything, they may do that later patch.
Yeah.
But the content is going to be released on a schedule, not just like classic, but
Yeah.
they're going to start presumably
I wonder-
pre-molten core and then work through.
I wonder what they're going to do when they get to a point where everyone has Nax and AQ on farm and there's no more classic in game. Like, are they going to develop new retro content, that tries to fit?
That's a great
or,
question.
I'm
That's an
curious to see how they go with that. Because like even at this point, as soon as the idea was proposed for Classic WoW, like there's going to be an end life to it. Like at a certain point, it's no longer Classic.
I mean, I guess they could expand it into Burning Crusade.
just
go back to the whole thing.
Patch 1.
That would be hilarious if people loved their shit so much and they just wanted to just go back in time and do all the same shit again. I mean, that's exactly what WoW Classic is. I mean,
it starts on patch 1.12, Drums of War.
1.12, okay.
The path forward here. You want me to read this blue post? It's from it's from a little while ago.
Which blue is it?
It's just says originally posted by Blizzard.
Okay.
Let's see. So WoW Classic, the first prototype. The first and among the most important decision we had to make was which version of the game we will focus on. As many of you have noted, the Classic period was 2 years long and full of changes. Core features like Battlegrounds were introduced in patches after World of Warcraft's launch, and class design similarly changed over time. After careful consideration, we decided on patch 1.12, Drums of War, as our foundation, because it represents the most complete version of the Classic experience. And then, here's one that says the path forward, second prototype. Speaking of engineering, World of Warcraft is a very data-driven game, which means that the basic code is flexible and the specific way it behaves is controlled by information contained in databases. Things like quests, monsters, items, and the rules for how all these interact are defined by the designers and artists in data. So we asked ourselves, would it still be possible to deliver an authentic Classic experience if we took our modern code with all of its back-end improvements and changes and then used it to process the patch 1.12 game data? While that might seem counterintuitive, this would inherently include Classic systems like skill ranks, old quests and terrain, talents, and so on, while later features like transmog and achievements would effectively not exist because they were entirely absent from the data. After weeks of R&D, experimentation, and prototyping, we were confident we could deliver the Classic WoW content and gameplay without sacrificing the literally millions of hours put into the back-end development over the past 13 years. While our initial effort has helped us determine the experience we wanted to provide, the second prototype really defined on how we'd get there. Starting from a modern architecture with all of its security and stability changes means the team's efforts can be focused on pursuing authentic Classic experiences. And any differences in behavior between our development builds and the patch 1.12 reference can be systematically cataloged and corrected while still operating from a foundation that's stable and secure. Well, that didn't really answer any questions. I was thinking in that they were going to talk about what they were going to do going forward. But
what was the most recent or the newest dungeon or raid that was introduced with 1.12? Like, is that... I'm trying to figure out where that is in the chronology of things. Is Nax going to be already out in 1.12? I feel like that was the pre-patch for Burning Crusade.
Yeah, I think it was. I'm going to read.
It probably was. But what I'm saying is, I don't think that has anything to do necessarily with
the content.
What content will be available.
That's the mechanics.
All the class tuning changes and updates they made to presumably improve the experience.
Yeah.
That existed at the end of Classic. We're going to go ahead and start there, but then the content we're going to go. It's going to be a progression.
Right, Molten Core is the new shit.
So in 1.12, they introduced Battlegrounds, cross-realm Battlegrounds, and World PvP with the whole Silithus and Eastern Plagueland stuff.
Yeah. Remember, what was it? Terran Mill and
it may be
South Shore? Is that what it's called?
It may be Silithus. What's the
Silithus?
What's the raid in there?
Encourage?
Yeah, it might be that. I'm looking to see if it's got anything about what raids.
Interesting.
General. This is breaking down more of the class changes.
I'm not excited about it. Like just because I know it's not going to be
what you think it's
what it was. Because what the game was to me when I played the game originally was only half about what the actual game was. It was half about where I was in life, what my mentality, my responsibilities, my free time, just everything else going on in my world. So that nostalgia that I'll get from playing the game invariably will be limited. It's not. I don't expect to. I'm not chasing the dragon here. I don't expect to have that high that I got back then.
I just think it'll be a more quality experience. Right now, you log in. You slam out a couple world quests within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You can queue up and do the raid in another 30 minutes if your public raid thing doesn't suck.
Yeah.
But within an hour, you can do like pretty much everything you were wanting to do for the week, right there, and then you have no reason to log on unless you're just gonna like play an alt.
Right.
So you were asking what raids and dungeons. So this is the patch of Uldaman, Zul'Farrak, Maradon, and Encourage. So they added all that in this patch.
Interesting. I don't remember those were all in before AQ. AQ was one of the latest
Maybe
releases.
they made updates to it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I'm just reading corrections. Never mind.
Well, it'll be really interesting to see how popular it is.
I would like to see it get more numbers than the current game does.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
they need to be shown.
I don't think it will.
I want to be surprised, pleasantly surprised, but I guess, you know, I'm a little cynical.
Right.
That I think there'll be a surge in the beginning, and then
It'll die off.
it'll just kind of fade. But who knows? Maybe, you know, I think gamers have been a little bit disillusioned with games recently. That's the vibe I get.
Games have gotten so much more corporate and
Yeah,
and cookie cuttered out.
and that this would be going back to something more, I don't know, authentic.
Authentic and more intimate as far as game design and stuff. Like, for
More
example,
immersive,
when you
maybe?
start
I don't know.
when you start a new character in WoW right now, from level 1.
I'm trying to think, I can't, there's a word that I'm trying to think of that doesn't describe it, but something, you know, it's a little
authentic.
more like archaic, but in like the challenges are like more challenging. Like
Legitimate.
everything is just there's more adversity.
But there's also more
you
reward.
deal
for it.
with right, yeah.
So it's like when you start a brand new level 1 dwarf, for example. I love dwarves. So like, and mainly it's because my first character that I picked back in beta, when I got picked for the beta before the game even came out, was I started a dwarf, and I ran through. I just remember like that zone right outside at Ironforge. You could go run through the mountains and hills, and there's like cave systems that you didn't even have to go to. They were just there, and you could like go and you'd find treasure chests guarded by yetis and stuff, and you kill the yetis and you get the treasure chest.
It's a lot like Aaron from Game Grumps when he talks about. Have you ever seen the sequelitis where he compares Ocarina of Time to A Link to the Past and the things the old Zelda like the adventure where like you could just like you. I can't explain what it is he was trying to say. Definitely watch it if you haven't seen it. But it was so much more about like it wasn't about reaching a destination. It was about just exploring.
Right.
Like
you weren't necessarily in a hurry to get to the end of the level because you were having so much
No,
fun.
that's absolutely right, because when I played WoW initially, and that's when I had the most fun with it. Like
when you knew nothing about it. It
I
was
knew
all new
nothing. I
information.
just explored. It was an adventure.
You weren't trying to get
And
to level 60.
Yeah.
I hadn't yet entered into this mindset where I was trying to min-max everything and push
Right.
through it
I need
as
to get,
fast
I
as
need
I
to
could
get to
to
90.
level
I
cap.
need to get my PvP gear. I need to get my arenas to this rank.
I was
like-
completely content to screw around.
right. You're like, what's around that corner? Like, that's as far as you think.
I could have been to 60 like 2 or 3 months before I was, but I would just
Yeah.
screw around having fun.
Yeah.
And that was worth it.
And it was fun to talk about. It was fun
Yeah.
to watch. It was fun to play that
So
way.
the
I always
dwarves-
enjoyed whenever you just decide to go kite a boss into a town
Yeah,
or something like that.
pull the raid
Yeah,
boss
the-
from Tenaris all the way into Stormwind or whatever. Not Stormwind, but
Yeah.
Now you take the
The Drake from Blasted Lands.
what was his name?
I forget. Take him into Stormwind though.
Yeah, I did that once.
oh, the Drake from Blasted. Yeah, I can't think of his name either. But there's also the yellow chromium or whatever those yellow time gatekeepers were over in Tenaris, Caverns of Time.
Oh yeah.
One of those was hostile, or it wasn't hostile. I think it was neutral, but you could attack it.
Yeah.
And so if you attack it, you could kite it back to was it Gadgeton? I think.
That sounds
Gadgeton or
right.
Gadgeton.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce any WoW name. I never talk about WoW out loud.
Yeah.
It's always in my head. But yeah, you could, and in that little town, it was always fun because in Gadgeton or whatever,
Gadgetzan.
yeah, Gadgetzan, there was always Horde and Alliance fighting.
Yeah.
And back then, the bodyguards were kind of weak, so you could take them out if you were
Right.
higher level.
Yeah. Now you look at someone wrong and just everyone.
Right, now they just instantly kill you. So it's like, well, why give players the option to fight in that town if you're just going to kill
Yeah.
them instantly with one of those guys?
Yeah. People
But-
used to like they would raid opposing factions towns just for fun.
Just
Like,
for fun.
You didn't get anything from it. It's not like you got some sort of special achievement or special loot. Like,
Right.
you just want to be able to say that.
And then in like Wrath they added.
I killed Thrall.
In Wrath they added that if you raided all 3 of the major faction cities, that you got like a special mount.
Yeah.
But even before that, like in Classic, like you said, there was no benefit whatsoever. It was a time sink. That's all it was, and it was
Yeah.
damn
The,
fun.
the satisfaction of doing
Really
a thing
fun.
is why you chose to do a thing, not because you were trying to achieve a higher goal.
Another thing I was going to say back to the dwarf is the dwarves used to have a racial called treasure find, and
Yeah.
it was just like when you select herb from your find item list or
Show
mining
treasure
or whatever,
chests and stuff.
it would show treasure chests on your mini map.
Yeah.
So just the random ones that spawn out in nature. So I would play all day just running around and finding those.
Yeah.
And each time you'd open one of those chests back then, it didn't matter what was in there. It was good.
Yeah.
Like it was stuff that was either useful to
Potions
you,
and cloth for band-aids and a
Stuff
green item
that you
that's
could
going to be an
sell
upgrade.
on the AH
yeah.
for like tons of money.
Yeah.
It was great. Like even if you couldn't use that green item, the auction house
Right.
would and you would make your money. You could buy stuff. It was just there was always good stuff going on. Now when you're leveling up a character from level 1, you don't even go over there and look in that fucking chest. It's a waste of the 10 steps to go out of your way and get the free silver and gold or whatever it is in there.
Right.
It's not even worth your time. I mean, there's so much to the game that people don't even bother with anymore because it's been around for 20 years.
Yeah.
This is
And
gonna
things,
like
there's so much hand holding. Everything's so like automated. I don't know if it's if
10
you have
years,
to have
11
mods
years,
to do it, but
12
like
years.
now
how
you can go farm for like an hour and a half, and like when normally like you farm for an hour and a half, you have your bags are full of shit. You spend forever sorting through things, and you find things you didn't realize that you grabbed. There's good stuff, there's bad stuff, there's okay stuff. Now you go to like a vendor and you just
you don't even read
open
what you
it,
got.
and like 2/3 of your stuff just vendors automatically, and the money's in your bag, like it's said and done, like that's it. It is a quality of life improvement. It makes it easier to play the game, but it doesn't make it easier to have fun.
Yeah,
You know?
there's a good balance of quality of life things that can be added to games, but you have to like not take away from your game in doing so. And I think
Right.
some of those
They've lost a lot along the way.
like flying mounts, a lot of people argue ruined a lot of the games because you got places way too quick. Where when we go back to this classic, a lot of people aren't realizing it.
Right.
There's no flying mounts.
40 for a 60% mount.
Level
That costs
40.
like enough money that you might not even be getting it until you're 50 because
Right.
you're coming up with that much
so
money.
it's, like yeah, it's so expensive.
Right.
But
Now level 1, you've got your heirloom mount. You're on your way.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much that you take for granted now. And going back to, I think at first when Classic launches, I think there's going to be a little bit of maybe complaints, like people go, man, this is too hard, and God, I'm not making any money. It's taking me forever to level, and you're going to see a lot of people complaining about shit
Yeah.
at first. But I think people will eventually, at least the hardcore people that like Classic, I think they'll stick around for a long ass time.
I think so too. I think there'll be
I might be one
a
of
certain
them.
percentage of the population that starts WoW Classic when it's released. They will never go back to the live game.
Yeah.
Well, there's been
that'll
a-
be what they
A
play.
fairly sizable private server community has their.
There,
Yes.
Yeah, there's always
And
been
they
private
keep
like
chasing
all
it
the,
and shutting them down.
presumably, unless they do something to really screw it up and piss everyone off, all those people are will come play the official classic.
Right.
So, a good percent will. There's a lot of those that are very angry because Blizzard has been actively chasing down these communities for years and shutting them down, which I understand they should. They have to protect their property, but at the same time, those people weren't really harming anything.
Well, it'll be.
I didn't realize that guy's name.
Scroat.
Scroat.
Nice.
Jerome.
Jerome. Wait,
I don't know. Oh, I make Kavanaugh. he's a
Kavanaugh.
paladin. He's a judge, justice.
Oh God. It's just the big question is, will you be able to enjoy the game
Right.
I think I'll
like
be
you did
able.
before?
I think I'll be able to enjoy it more than I do the current game, but less than I did the original game. That's
Yes.
where my expectation
Yeah,
is.
Same here.
That's what I'm
is-
hoping for.
That is the thing that seems to be lost forever, is the ability to reclaim
But
that,
you could say that-
degree of.
You could say that about any game, though.
Oh yeah.
Like when I grew up, my favorite Mario in the whole world to play was Mario 3, and well, it's a toss up between Mario 2 and 3. But now, and I haven't played those games like seriously all the way through since I was a little kid. But even now, like if I turn one on, I'm just like, ugh, I'm like disgusted. I don't even want to play it.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes you can't get get that first experience back.
Yeah, you can't recreate the magic.
I do think that WoW Classic will create the magic good enough for someone like me,
I love your names, Kyle.
like where I want to play casually, but I want the challenge.
Finger hole.
I'll be able to do that. I'll be able to log in for maybe 2 hours a night after work and just fiddle around and be happy with it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
probably be looking for a guild to join. I don't want people fucking with
You
me.
know,
I
the
don't
thing
want-
the thing that actually I think would work as far as recreating that degree of fun, maybe not quite to that level, but something very high would be to do what I did not do the first time I played through and play like with a group.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not one to really go out and make a group
Right.
of new
Right.
friends,
That
but
off.
if we had, and that's the thing, like that's not very probably realistic with
Right, because in the
to get everyone
schedules of
coordinated.
people
to
in their
we
mid
can play at the
30s
same
with
time.
wives and children and jobs, and they're just like trying to get everyone.
And to get momentum, you want to like play like average like a couple hours a day,
Yeah.
or something close to it. Like keep the momentum going. If you're down to like less than an hour a day on average, then you're just things are kind of down to a crawl. But if you were able to do that, I think it would be a blast because in the current, I didn't play this last expansion, but if it's like the one before it, you can solo play to level cap just like
easy. Yeah.
like
this
where in
one's the
classic,
same.
like you really get benefits by playing in a group and doing all those group quests and dungeons, and it's a lot of fun because it's hard when you're by yourself,
So
depending on your class.
this new one has screwed the pooch so bad. Like for quite a while, when a new X pack would come out, you could solo the content easy, but you could kind of do it in a rhythm. Like, okay, I'll go to this zone and I'll 100% this zone's quests, and by the time I'm done doing that, I can move on to the next zone.
Yeah.
And by the time you do that, you've gone through 4 out of 5 of the new zones, right?
Right.
And you've mastered probably 3 of them at least. You've 100%ed 3 of those on your way through. Well, in this new one, if you 100% the first of like 6 zones you can go to, you will hit level cap. So you could be 120 in the very first zone of the new expansion, and without ever going to any of the new zones. But you're still expected to go to those zones and cap out everything anyway if you want to unlock the full potential of, you know, the character and some of the items you can get and your reputation and all that crap. But it sucks once you hit. Oh, and the enemies level up with you now in this expansion. So
I think they've done that.
well, they did in Legion as well, but like in Legion, once you hit level cap, you still felt like you were level cap. Like you could go back to those other zones and still kick ass.
Yeah.
In this, like for the longest time, when you hit level cap, stuff will still wreck you, and it will constantly wreck you, even though you're level cap, until
And
you finally
and
start
spend
getting
like 3 minutes killing one same level non-elite mob. Like, how is
yeah,
that?
until you finally get enough gear from like all the pubs and stuff, and then you can kind of go
I
through
don't
and
like
start.
that.
And I don't like it either. You know, I don't want to be. I
You want
love.
to feel strong. You want to feel like a
Yeah,
badass. You
I
play a video
love-
game to like escape
or-
into the fantasy.
yeah,
of
go
just
to the old
wrecking
zones.
shit.
You want to feel weak.
And
That's
you
something
wanna feel
about
like-
classic WoW.
Yeah,
Well, you
but-
want to feel weak on your way up, but you
Feeling
want to also
weak-
be able to turn around and go back to where you were
right.
previously weak. And
Feeling
then kick
weak
their
sets the
ass.
context. The context of whenever you're weak, you appreciate being stronger.
Yeah.
So, whenever you start out weak and you end up weak, and like you have to have groups to do things. Like it just, I don't know, it takes a lot.
I
of
really
Yeah.
enjoyed
fun.
not having that in classic, where you would even in a given zone, there would be certain areas with higher level mobs or elite mobs, and there's just areas you just could not go because you were not strong enough. You had to
Right.
avoid them, and then later you could come back when you were stronger, and if it felt like it was a good feeling. I
Right.
like that dynamic. I never have understood why games move towards this
Balance
auto
thing.
scaling of enemies to match you.
Because well,
Ding!
it's like everything else in life. People don't.
Did you
want,
ding for minding that?
I did.
People don't want
Wow.
any inconveniences whatsoever. It seems like these days, and sometimes you have to.
You gotta
You have to
something
take the
stand in between where you
inconvenience.
are and where you want to get, or else you don't enjoy
Right.
what you get.
You have to have the inconvenience so that you appreciate the convenience. If everything's just convenient all the time, then you're just not going to care. Everything's. So I don't know. I'm definitely going to be participating in Classic WoW at least for a month. You know, the $15 resub fee.
Yeah.
That will be, and if I sub again after that, that'll be a a testament to the game's staying power because I almost never play 2 months in a row.
I'm
I'll play 30 days and I'm like, I'm done with it.
I'm spoiled knowing people that work at Blizzard.
Yeah, you get a year sub for free.
Yeah, anytime I feel like playing, I just send this guy a message. I'm like, so how's WoW these days? And he's like, well, let me show you.
Want to pray?
Yeah.
Yeah, pray game.
Oh, we got a warrior.
I've been wanting to play WoW again. I've been fighting off the urge to resub because I'll do the same thing every time. I'll resub, I'll get a character to somewhat newer content, whether it be Legion or this newest one, Battle for Azeroth, and then I'm like, yeah, fuck that. Not playing no
Yep.
more.
I play for 20 minutes anytime, and I'm just like, I'm done. This is just
Anytime I can be on a lower level character somewhere in Azeroth or Outland or Northrend, I'm happy.
Yep. I love.
Those three first
I don't like.
expansion
I
packs.
haven't really enjoyed the end game since Wrath. I've always.
Yeah, Wrath. Man,
like
I love
playing.
Wrath's end game. I never even got tired of spamming the same dungeons in that one. I love the
Yeah.
dungeons. I love the lore. I fucking love the music. You always felt like you were getting ready to fight the baddest ass motherfucker on the planet, which was Arthas, and he was always a shadow behind you. And like the dungeons that you would have to run that led up to Ice Crown. I mean, you'd have battles with Arthas before you even made it to Ice Crown, where he's like chasing you down this mountain, and like
I
it
remember
completely
that.
changes the
Yeah.
style of the game. It's like if your party's running at the camera, and it's a locked camera, you can't move it, and you have to hit certain buttons, and it just shit like that. It all tied in together, and it went with the story, and it was just oh man.
And it made you painfully aware of how weak you were compared to the powers that were going on around you.
Right.
But at
Right.
some point, it builds your significance up and builds your power up, and obviously, like, you're able to do the things. But starting out, like, it made you very aware that you were nothing. Like,
Right.
You were insignificant in the big greater scheme of things.
This guy was like a lesser god, and you were just this newbie hero running
Right.
around with a bunch of other newbie heroes
Yeah.
that half of you died because you stood in the fire for too long in town.
Right.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff indeed. Well, this has been the first episode of the Press Z podcast. Hope everybody's enjoyed it.
Woohoo!
All right.